Okay, so we're back here with another cadaver. These are my initial observations from the top looking down. What can we see? We can see there's a very large heel. Looks like it's slightly underrun, you know, it's starting to bend under itself there. Got a nice straight hoof wall, no deviations looking from the side like that. Got a potential for a bit of a crack just here. All in all, not too bad from that angle. This angle, this is where it starts getting interesting. What have we got here? We've got a very straight side here, then we've got this very large flare out to the side with a quarter crack here. It's called a quarter crack. We've got the toe area of the hoof. These are the quarters on both sides, and then obviously the heel is what rolls around at the back here. So as we've talked before, this is the hairline, the coronet, the coronary band, and all this hoof starts its growth from here, and it moves down in that direction, and about 12 months from top to bottom is how long it takes for this hoof to get to the end here. We also can see there's quite a serious crack here. It's almost undetectable, you know, and if this horse was stood in mud, everyone would go, oh, this horse is pretty good, you know. You wouldn't be able to barely see that, but definitely visible once the foot's clean. But the main thing is there's this large flare on the outside. This particular conformation is very common in hind feet. They generally stand and bear more weight on the inside edge of their hind feet, which results in this flare on the outside. So this is probably most likely a natural conformation deviation for this in particular horse, but obviously as the hoof grows and gets longer and longer, it gets really accentuated. So we'll flip this over and see what it's like from the bottom. Okay, so as we can see, this flare, this side of the foot is much wider than this side of the foot. Yeah, if you from the edge to the center, 6 centimeters there. From the center to that edge is 7, almost 7.5 centimeters to that outside edge. So almost a centimeter difference between the width of this side compared to that side. You can see the horse is bearing more weight on here because they're crushing all this hoof wall material. There's debris inside of that. Our frog is it's very deteriorated inside here, and there's a big crevice here in the central sulcus, which would be very prone to infection. We've got this huge overgrown bar here, you know, it's starting to lean over on itself, you know, like that. So what I would assume in a horse that's alive is once we trim this away, there'd be a big bruised patch of tissue underneath here, because as this starts to fold over, it puts pressure on that area and creates a bruise. These type of horses are also very prone to navicular issues because they've got these large overgrown bars, and behind this, I'll just give you an example here of this is the bones, the internal structure. This is the navicular bone. These great big bars here end up pushing on this navicular bone, and that can trap nerves and restrict blood flow. So big overgrown bars like this can end up being quite sore for a horse if they're pretty flat-footed, which this horse is a little bit. So yeah, overgrown hoof wall. We've got a lot of overgrown hoof wall in the toe, hence why it's bending away like this, creating a split just here. And it looks like this split is not just a split here, but it's starting to actually travel around. So we've potentially got a split turning into white line disease. and we'll really hook into this on this video. So I'm going to clean this foot up. I'm going to mark the white line area. Give you a visual on that. And I'm just going to trim it, starting with these bars. They're the most obviously overgrown part of the foot in my opinion, so we'll take them down a bit. And again, that's going to relieve some pressure on the navicular bone. You go until you can see the bar. This bar here is what we call the bar, is an extension of the hoof wall. The hoof wall goes from here and it wraps around the whole horse, comes back into here. So if you look closely there now, I've cleaned it up so it's a nice straight bar. I can see where it ends. I can see the junction, which is the white line of the bar between this being the hoof wall, then the white line, then this being the sole tissue, and all of this being the sole tissue. I'll use my nippers on this bar because it is very overgrown. Take all that excess tissue out of there. That a bit easier. Not so easy with a horse that's not a leg that's not attached to a horse. And all this is flaky tissue. It's not very difficult to get off. It's all dead, flaky hoof material, very susceptible to infection. So it's not like I'm cutting that away. Most of the time I'm just scraping it away. This side needs a bit more attention. Let's reduce this bar even more. There we go. I'll just come in here and tidy this area up. Good. Whilst I'm here, I've got this big flap of frog tissue, which isn't very healthy. Take that off. Clean this collateral groove out. You can see how dirty and manky that is. Again, with the frog, you're really only taking off what's already showing signs of rot and deterioration, not cutting into healthy tissue. I want to leave as much healthy tissue on there as possible. Very important to clean these grooves out, because this is where the horse is going to get sensitive if it's trapping too much dirt. Okay, and we'll clean up the tip of the frog so we can see where the frog meets the sole. I'll just clean a little bit of the sole tissue up around that tip there. Very good. That's the basics of that. Give it a bit of a brush. I'll just clean my workspace. So what we'll do now, we'll map the foot. Again, we'll just highlight the white line area, which is the junction between the sole tissue and the hoof wall. We might as well mark our bars. These are our bars. And mark the tip of the frog where that meets the sole. Also the frog junction where that meets the collateral groove. Right there. Central sulcus is that big sort of hole. We can't mark that because it's so deep and deteriorated. We'll mark the tip of the heels. And you see we've got these huge large heels And we'll get our ruler and we'll go right down the center of the foot from the collateral groove through the tip of the toe to the center of the toe, tip of the frog to the center of the toe, all the way down like that. Okay, we'll find the widest part of our foot. Seems to be there. Draw a line all the way across there, and this is very, very common and very, very typical. Is the widest part of the foot is where the bars terminate, so it's a good reference point. I'm going to draw a line across the white line at the toe area, and what we'll do is, again, from the junction here to that point, we'll draw our lines down there like so. Excellent. So that gives us a good idea of what we're working with there. Next thing we're going to do is take our hoof nippers and we're going to trim up the hoof wall. We're going to move all the way around like that. We're going to leave a little bit of hoof wall beyond the level of the sole, so we're going to trim just above that black line that we've created there. So we'll get into it. I'll start at this heel this time. Seems to be the highest point, so we'll start there. Keep the nippers nice and flat. This part of the nippers can rest against the sole. You know, we don't want to be doing that. I want to stay nice and level. Stay level at the toe for now. Keep moving our way around, half a nip at a time. Go to this heel, work my way forwards. Doesn't matter where you start. It's sort of, there we go. Gives us an idea of that. So, to be honest, I'm wanting to create that breakover straight away. I'm already feeling like that's what we need to do. So I'm going to angle my nippers so I don't have to rasp as much. I'll just go forward like that. Voila. Now check what things look like from that angle. We can already see this heel's a lot higher. This side of the foot doesn't wear as much as this side of the foot. This side of the foot's having all the weight bared down on it and is compacting here. So we've got to decide what we want to do. Obviously we want to reduce this flare a little bit. There's not a huge amount we can do about it, but we do want to stop it from accentuating and bending even further out than what it should be. So we'll take our rasp. I'm going to start with a breakover in this case. I'm going to rasp smooth back to that line that we created. With 2 fingers at the back. That's roughly the angle that we're working with there. Don't want to go too steep, too shallow. So 2 fingers at the back here is a decent enough guide, a decent enough angle. Okay, I wanted to smooth this side off a little bit. And then this side. I can reduce this side down a fair bit. Keeping the rasp as well nice and flat. We don't want to be doing this at the moment. Keep everything nice and flat. Excellent. Just run around the edge, create a nice even thickness of hoof wall. Take all those sharp points off. Good. Look down our foot and see that this heel is still slightly higher. That's that. So you can see we're lucky. This is not spreading along the white line at this stage and becoming white line disease, moving from what we would call seedy toe to white line disease. It's all the same thing. It's just seedy toe is a crack like so. White line disease is when this crack and this dirt and the infection, the bacterial and fungal infection, starts to move around the white line there. We've got a little bit going on in this side. So we'll have a look at cleaning that up. Not too deep. That's good. Excellent. Take a bit more off that bar. Same there. And that's that really. We're lucky that things didn't pack down too deep in there. Very important to keep that picked out and clean and dry. And now we'll have a look at the extent of the damage in this toe. Do have to proceed with a little bit of caution here because it can get deep enough that it's close to sensitive tissue. You might have to work a little bit, get as much as you can out, just sort of feel your way, feel how the horse responds. I need something a little bit more, a bit longer, a bit pointier to get right down inside that, but already you can see, you know, that's that deep, and that's what I can get to with this quite broad hoof pick. So it's obviously much deeper than that. If we turn the foot around, we can see that it is as deep as this crack goes. This crack goes to there, and you can see we're picking out to there, but this will go further up, believe me. So I've got a long thin nail, and use a shoeing nail. What I'm doing, I'm just wiggling it around inside there. What I'm wanting to do is just dislodge. See how, and there's all this chalky dead tissue. That's tissue that's infected by fungus. It's a soil microbe, you know, these are ever present in soil. It's the type of microbes that break down organic matter, digest dead tissue and turn it into soil and available nutrients ready for plants to absorb again. So, you know, they're only doing their job, but they're doing that job because the environment's right. It's wet, it's damp, this tissue's all dead, it's not been worn off, it's become anaerobic. That's perfect. So I like to use some iodine, spray the iodine in there, go again. Keep wiggling that around, keep wiggling it around, dislodge as much as you can. you start to see the iodine turning a sort of more grey colour. A sludgy grey colour. Give it another blast. And let the foot down. So then we have to decide, and you have to talk with the owner about this, because if the owner's capable of doing what we've just done in terms of treating this, cleaning out, letting the air get in there, putting some antiseptic in there, but mainly getting rid of all the dirt that's trapped in there, then we can maybe manage this without having to cut this hoof wall out. If the horse owner can't do this job, it is better to cut it out, because it's much easier then to get to the bottom of it and clean it. But some horse owners really do not like you cutting a big scallop out there, and this is just from my experience, this crack, if we were to cut it out, it's going to leave a scallop like that. You know, it's going to go beyond the visible line, it's going to go higher up, but that's what we're going to end up having to cut out. So if we can treat it this way, we can pack it with a antiseptic wax every 2-3 times a week, pick it out, repack it, treat it, we can manage it, and at the end of the day, like we were saying before, there is no cure for this. We have to just treat it, prevent it getting worse by regular trimming, regular treating, and just wait for this hoof wall to grow down, and eventually this hole and this crack will grow out, and then we'll be left with a healthy hoof all the way around. But you know, that's probably a 3-month process. If you think it's 12 months from here to here, ideally, so there's 6 months worth of growth, that's half of the hoof. 3 months, 3 months, so 3, 6, 9, 12 months. So we're roughly at the 3 to 4, potentially 5 months worth of hoof rehabilitation that this would have to go through to grow this seedy toe crack out. So I'm going to cut it out. We've decided this horse is not going to be ridden for a while. Ah dear, got to make fun of these things sometimes when you can. Take my round nippers, help me get a start anyway. I'll just take that out like that. Much more difficult to do it on a horse in this condition, but then we take a hoof knife. And we really get in there. So, give it a good scrape, check what you're doing. See, the tissue has changed. The hoof wall there, we can actually see the entire depth of the hoof wall. Then we have the connective tissue. It's still non-sensitive tissue, but beyond that we start to get into sensitive tissue, especially when you start getting up here. So you have got to be very careful. You know, I've been doing this for a long time now, so I know what's what. It's dislodging any of that chalky, flaky tissue again. So I'm going to see what's going on. Hit it with the iodine. Do the same. We're actually not going to have to go as high as I thought we were going to have to go. Looks like it goes up a little bit further there, definitely. But you get the picture of what we're going to have to do, you know. If not, this would trap dirt and moisture and it just continue around and around, and in the end we'd have to cut out a huge big section like this, and it can go up and up and up and up and up. It can reach that sensitive tissue and it can cause an abscess, which, yeah, we just end up getting in a right mess, and these horses have to suffer and go through a much longer rehabilitation process to get to a certain level of health and well-being. So that's that. What we can then do then is put a copper sulfate based wax, push it all up in there, and keep on top of it that way. Just take the rasp and sort of smooth these things over a bit. You know, you can use an electric Dremel, and there are people with the facilities that will take an electric Dremel and they will, you know, Dremel this out even further. I think we've got to where we need to go for demonstration purposes here, but let's treat the Seedy toe, and that's a barefoot trim, a barefoot remedial trim in this case, because we're trying to provide a remedy to big flare on this side, overgrown bar here, Seedy toe here, and we've not even got onto this quarter crack here, which is a lot more superficial. But what we'd do in this case is we'd just expose and trim out all the dirt. So it isn't any more serious than it needs to be. So thanks for watching.